Good morning. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. You found us here on the weather desk, here from the 13 News Now studios, and maybe you're watching us on 13 News Now Plus. We're delighted to have you here. Maybe it's YouTube. However you found us, we're glad you're here because each and every weekday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern, we start with covering today's top weather headlines on the weather desk. Here's what we're looking at today. Severe weather across the United States. What has occurred over the weekend? We had some really rough weather late last week and over the weekend. And as we look ahead, there is a pretty significant tornado threat and severe weather threat looking forward over the next couple of days. We're going to break all of that down. It's also Virginia's Severe Weather Awareness Week. So last week, here at 13 News Now, we service Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. Of course, the weather desk, we look abroad and we sometimes look around the world and out into space. We've got a space-related story coming up a little bit later in today's show. But again, we really hyper-focus as well on Virginia, and it is our Severe Weather Awareness Week. We'll talk about what that means, some of the things you'll want to pay attention to this week, including tornado watches versus warnings. Do you know the difference? What does it mean when there's a watch or a warning? We'll let you know. All right, how has winter 2025-2026 stacked up? We've wrapped up meteorological winter. We're now into meteorological spring. So when we look back at December, January, and February, how did things shape up across the U.S.? We know it was cold here in the mid-Atlantic up through the Northeast U.S. We had some brutal cold, actually. But other parts of the country, actually a lot different. You might be surprised to see where our winter has ranked relative to what's gone on in the past across the United States. We'll show you that. And then we're going to talk about the warmer weather out west stressing bees. There's bee colonies that have died. We're going to talk about that. And then that space-related story, an asteroid. Well, it's a little less threatening than it was originally thought to be. We'll explain how close it could still come to the Earth and the Moon, but it does look like that one's going to miss us, and thank goodness for that. All right, we're going to start off, though, with a look at the weather over the weekend. You can see the loop here kind of wrapping up. We'll jump back 48 hours, start Saturday. Look at the line of storms, big storms across portions of Texas and Oklahoma. Michigan got hit with some severe weather and some tornadoes there. It's part of the country that can have severe storms, and when they do, it just seems to always create a lot of trouble when you get into the upper Midwest. It can be really, really bad. For the Southeast U.S., they're going to be under the gun today, and as I mentioned, we're going to get more into that. But let's take a look at some of the aftermath. Unfortunately, at least 8 people were killed, including a 12-year-old boy, after multiple tornadoes touched down in Michigan. There were also tornadoes touching down in Oklahoma and Texas. And as Rena Roy reports, the threat isn't over yet.
Look, there is a tornado.
This massive twister slicing through several homes in Union Lake, Michigan, near Kalamazoo.
There goes a house.
Drone video showing the extent of the damage. Roofs ripped off of homes, trees snap like twigs, neighborhoods littered with debris.
OMG!
The National Weather Service says the storm was especially unusual, forming as it crossed over several frozen lakes. In Three Rivers, Michigan, a rare and powerful EF3 tornado with winds of at least 130 miles per hour, shredding homes and buildings.
I grabbed the dog and ran into the closets and held on to the doorknob. Everything was shaking, and then it sounded like a train was driving through the house.
Residents banding together to help clean up.
Pretty devastating seeing how the community's been hit. It makes me worry about the community and the work we need to do for them.
Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer declaring a state of emergency for 3 counties to assist with response and recovery efforts. On Thursday, a deadly tornado tore through Fairview, Oklahoma. Officials say this car was struck by a tornado, killing Jody and Lexi Owens, a mother and daughter. And another 2 people were killed after a tornado touched down in Beggs, Oklahoma. That storm ripping the roof off this middle school. The threat of more severe weather is expected to ramp up on Monday, centered on the lower Mississippi River Valley. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
We're going to get into the severe weather outlook in just a moment. You see Oklahoma here in Texas. Again, there were those tornadoes that touched down in Oklahoma over the weekend. This is a look at the significant damage to a middle school in Tulsa. The National Weather Service confirms the tornado that hit that area was an EF3. Emergency management officials are still surveying the damage to the school and the surrounding areas.
You know, it's widespread. Obviously, here at the middle school, we have some damage to the roof, some other damage, power lines down. Throughout all the way northeast from here to Highway 75, we have homes that have been damaged. We also have power lines down throughout.
The middle school that was damaged will remain closed this week as cleanup efforts continue. All right, I want to come back to the maps here. As you can see with the more recent radar and satellite images this morning, we do have an area that is not under tornado warning, but there are severe thunderstorm warnings for this portion of Oklahoma. And you see Antlers and Clayton. You're thinking, okay, I don't know if I've heard of those towns or not. They're pretty small. Take a look at the information on these two areas. And those are pretty large areas. But just to show you how sparsely populated that part of the country is, this warning here, just this one alone, it involves these different counties, Latimer, Pittsburgh, and Pushmataha. All right, those counties. 979 people total living in that area. That's a large area. It's just very sparsely populated. As we take a look, there's another warning. This one will run until 9:15 Eastern, 8:15 Central. As we look at this one here that was just issued, kind of an extension as this severe storm moves along, you can see about 1,300 people included, 1,373, so almost 1,400 people under this watch or this warning that is going on. And again, that one until 9:45 Eastern, 8:45 Central. So again, a couple of warnings out. It is not a very densely populated area, and those folks are used to dealing with severe storms and tornadoes. A lot of them have built-in storm cellars and everything else. At this point, it is not tornadic, but there is those two thunderstorm warnings that were issued for that portion of Oklahoma. All right, here in Virginia, we are not looking at severe weather today, but there is this area just down to the southwest, and really it's the deep south. So here again, Norfolk, and here's Raleigh. You can see North Carolina and Virginia right there to our southwest across western portions of Georgia, much of Alabama, Mississippi, and into Arkansas. We have the severe weather threat today. And we've got the second tier of severe weather threat, what we call a slight risk. The area shaded in green, that's level 1, marginal. And then it goes up to level 2, that slight risk, from Alabama through northern Mississippi and into Arkansas. Now, we're going to take a little closer look at these areas because there is this elevated threat of tornadoes. An isolated tornado, certainly a possibility. Again, this morning so far, it's just been the thunderstorm warnings that we've seen out across Oklahoma. But eventually, you could see maybe a stray tornado or two anywhere from Texarkana up to Little Rock. Memphis is on the northern edge of that area, kind of highlighted. Shreveport, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, and Tupelo as well. Over to Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery. Those areas also included in this area that is highlighted with this elevated risk. So we'll watch for that. In addition, better chances that they deal with some very gusty winds, and those straight line winds can bring down trees or damage structures as well. So folks just need to stay weather aware down across the deep south. The greater threat, I think, is with the potential for large hail in excess of 2 inches in diameter. So large hail potentially from Montgomery back across areas north of Jackson, really between Jackson, Mississippi, and Memphis, Tennessee, back out through Little Rock. These areas could see some very large hail, so we'll continue to watch that later today and this afternoon and let you know. Now, there's also the potential for excessive rainfall or flash flooding. You can see from Georgia across Alabama, Mississippi, into southern Arkansas and Louisiana. That's for today. For tomorrow, that outlook for excessive rainfall really builds back across this area, the upper Midwest, and then back across Oklahoma and Texas once again. Now, I bring this up, again, level 2 threat for excessive rainfall. This area off to the north of great concern for several things. We're going to take a look at the severe weather outlook, and numerous severe storms are going to be possible from north central Missouri back across northern Illinois and into Indiana, and this does include the Chicago area. So you talk about the Windy City, they're going to be under the gun potentially tomorrow. And we saw what happened around Kalamazoo with the tornadoes up into Michigan. Folks there in Chicago and across northern Indiana. I think about South Bend and Gary, Indiana, some of those areas back through. Even Indianapolis really needing to watch that. St. Louis, Kansas City, back down through Springfield. As we mentioned, Little Rock needs to pay close attention. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, back down through Dallas. These areas all need to watch. Now, the tornado potential is elevated. I'm just going to quickly mention here in the western part in central Texas here. That includes San Angelo down through Del Rio. These areas do have that second tier level 2 threat for tornadoes there. And with the hashes that you see here, that's EF2 potentially, or even greater. So we just need to watch for that. But this is the area that we're most concerned with. And again, this includes areas around Quincy, Illinois, back over through Peoria. And just south of Chicago, there's a level 3 threat. That's just north of Champaign, Illinois, just north of the St. Louis metro area. But you get up to communities like Bowling Green and Kirksville, areas just north of Columbia, Missouri, and back over through Kansas City. These areas right on the edge here, Jeff City just to the south there. But for Columbia, Missouri, they need to watch out as well. There is a level 2 to level 3 threat for tornadoes. And in this case, I do think we could see another little outbreak across the region. That's for Tuesday. So we're going to be watching that. In addition, large hail, a big problem. Again, this is mainly north of the St. Louis metro area, but Peoria, Quincy, Davenport, heading over to Chicago. Again, large hail could impact Chicago and Kansas City. It's a concern. And there's also the potential for larger hail again across central Texas. A lot to watch for Tuesday. I think that's going to be a potentially really rough day. Strong winds, also a great threat from southern Michigan around Detroit, back over through Chicago, down towards Cincinnati, Louisville, Kentucky. Even Memphis, Tennessee needs to watch out for some strong winds. Dallas, Wichita, again, Kansas City, all of these areas under that severe weather outlook for potential large hail, and then again, those gusty winds. Looking ahead to Wednesday, now that threat is shifting a little farther to the east. We've got this frontal boundary out there. You can see Hampton Roads still outside of that threat area, as well as northeast North Carolina, but anywhere from East Texas through northern Louisiana, the southeast part of Arkansas, Mississippi, northern Alabama, much of Tennessee, almost all of Kentucky, almost all of West Virginia, southern Ohio, and the southwestern and central portions of Pennsylvania under that level 2 or slight risk for severe storms. So this is something we're really going to be paying close attention to. You will notice that portions of Virginia are under a level 1 or marginal risk. This includes D.C. on up towards Baltimore, Roanoke, Charlottesville, areas up around Stanton and Harrisonburg, back down to the south. And you can see that extends down through the Asheville area, North Carolina, and down into North Georgia. So it's really significant. This is Severe Weather Awareness Week in Virginia, and this week is designed to remind everybody about the dangers of severe weather. I want to talk to you about it, and I know this graphic is crazy. There's all kinds of words on it, and it's a lot to take on. Here's what you need to know, because we're going to revisit this same graphic throughout the week. Today, Monday, we're going to talk about the difference between watches and warnings. The main thing that the Virginia Department of Emergency Management is stressing is now, during Severe Weather Preparation Week, this is the time to put an emergency plan together. Now, again, today's topic, the difference between a watch and a warning. A watch basically means that the stage is set. A warning means you need to take action. And this goes for all different types of severe weather, from flood watches. It means, hey, the potential is there. We could see some flooding. A warning means it's happening. Severe thunderstorm, watch favorable conditions. It could come together. You got to stay informed. You got to be prepared. That's a watch. warning, okay, we've got severe storms in the area. You need to get to your safest spot in your home. You need to take action and stay informed. The difference between general watches and warnings. But there are different types of watches and warnings, and my colleague Taylor Stephenson explains what this means when it comes to tornadoes.
During severe weather days, a lot of weather terminology can be thrown at you all at once. A common mistake is mixing up a watch versus a warning. Let's talk about the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning, and another type of tornado alert in the same family. A watch means that conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form. A tornado watch usually covers a large area and can last for hours. Under a watch, this is your time to get prepared for inclement weather. A warning means that the threat for the tornado is imminent. The rotation was either indicated by radar or confirmed by someone on the ground in that area. During a tornado warning, you need to seek shelter immediately. The best places to stay safe during a tornado warning are a basement, an interior room without windows, or a tornado shelter. A warning box is much smaller than a watch box and typically lasts for about 30 minutes. The third type of alert is rare, but when a tornado emergency is issued, there's a severe threat to human life with catastrophic damage expected. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson.
And when those tornado emergencies are issued, and they're not very common here in Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina, but when those are issued, those are ones that you cannot play with. I mean, obviously, any warning, you need to take action, but an emergency means it is happening and there's an extreme threat to human life and property there, and you just really have to go quickly. All right, we're going to take a short break, but coming up in 2 minutes, we're going to talk about what's going on. Again, we've got this warmer weather out west. Bees have been struggling. We'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about a not too near miss coming up. That's from NASA. Remember, there's a statewide tornado drill that's going to take place tomorrow. That's at 9:45 in the morning. It's part of that severe weather preparedness week. I'll have more coming up after this 2-minute break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and we are looking at high temperatures yesterday. Look at this. LA 88 degrees, 89 in Phoenix. We had 70s back across the central U.S., Omaha at 75, 74, Dallas. How about Orlando, 88, and Norfolk officially 79? It really was a warm day here across much of the country, and certainly here in Hampton Roads. As we take a look at the snowfall and the depth that is out there as of this morning, there is still some snow on the ground in the Northeast, but this map with the coverage has really shown the retreating of the snow. It's not nearly as widespread as it was, obviously, a little earlier in the season. UP of Michigan still with some significant snow. There's snow back over the Rockies, over the high Uintas, parts of the Wasatch Range, up into the northern Rockies from Wyoming, the Grand Tetons, such beautiful, beautiful area. You get up into portions of Idaho and into Montana, some snow there, snow along the Sierras. But finally, we are starting to moving towards spring. And while we sprung forward over the weekend, we still technically have a couple weeks left until we get into the vernal equinox. Now, believe it or not, as cold as this winter was here in the mid-Atlantic and for the Northeast, this winter was one of the warmest on record for the United States. Two preliminary data sets show that the lower 48 saw its second warmest winter on record. While those frigid temperatures and heavy snow hit the Midwest and the eastern United States, it was not enough to offset the overall record heat that was taking place out west. For example, Denver even had more 60-degree days during the winter months than did Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You want to talk about a flip-flop? There you go. Many areas now face a potentially dire summer of drought and wildfire risks. Now, while we're talking about Colorado and that warmer weather, we want to talk about bee colonies in Colorado Springs. They are dying out because of the warmer days this winter. Experts say they are concerned even more bees will be lost in the months ahead. Bill Folsom reports.
Bees foraging among blossoms. Unusual because this is video captured in Colorado Springs when it's still winter and spring is still weeks away.
The bees at this time of year should be in a tight cluster, keeping themselves warm, riding out the winter.
And we want them to go into winter with about the equivalent of about 120 pounds of honey stores, which would be 2 of these big boxes on this hive.
Normally most domesticated honeybees will break cluster and they start flying about 45 degrees.
Leonard and Dolly Rickerman have been raising bees for decades. It's expanded into teaching others how to do it along with a small beekeeping business. This is video of all their beehives. They point out there's too many bees outside. It's the result of Colorado's extra warm winter.
Because they're out flying so much, they're consuming all the resources that are normally in the hive for them. And the big fear is this month and next month, there's a high probability of hives starving out.
All the movement burns energy. Finding more to eat, like on that one blossoming tree, is rare. Instead, most vegetation is still dormant. So they end up eating their stored honey.
It's disconcerting about this winter is people are coming in with their dead hives a lot earlier.
This day, the Rickermans have done what's called a hive autopsy. It's for another beekeeper. Starvation is the likely reason.
They just didn't have enough resources to survive the winter.
Extra warm days are also confusing queen bees. Some are laying eggs months early. If cold days hit or more bees continue to die from lack of food, odds are higher those young bees will be lost.
There's not enough nurse bees there to take care of them. They are going to die, yeah. And they have to be kept warm and fed and things like that. So it's a huge thing.
It's a very interesting story. I knew that the warmer weather was having the effect on the bees, but I wasn't exactly sure how and why. And that makes perfect sense now. As the bee activity starts up, they burn through their resources, and then that leaves them short later on when they need it. We do have some good news, though, before we jump into the local forecast for Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina. That good news comes from NASA. The agency has now ruled out the chance that a closely watched asteroid would hit the moon. The building-sized object known as 2024 YR4 previously had a 4% chance of striking the moon in 2032. But new data from the James Webb Space Telescope predicts it will now pass by the moon a distance of 13,000 miles. NASA also says the object poses no significant risk to Earth for at least the next century. And when they first discovered it, there was some concern initially that it could potentially impact Earth. Then they were like, okay, Earth looks good. Now we're concerned about the moon. And now NASA, as they've gotten more modeling in and a better feel on the trajectory for this asteroid, that it will miss the moon as well. So there's some encouraging news for you on this Monday. As we take a look ahead, you can see last week we had a cool day on Tuesday, but look at how much warmer it got later in the week. So far today, 63. We're headed back into the mid-70s. It will be another above average day today. Take a look here in Hampton Roads, how the temperatures will climb into the mid-70s. Looking ahead, temperatures will get up again into the low 80s, low to mid 80s on Wednesday. So we warm up tomorrow on Wednesday, back to 68 with rain on Thursday, and then cooler into the weekend, but the weekend looks good. It could be significantly cooler early to middle of next week. Some of the models hinting at that. We'll see. Still some question, but it does look like another cold push into next week. Right now, the radar is clear. The visibility is getting better and better. That's the Thompson Creek Window Company Skyview. Winds are south today at about 5 knots on the bay and the ocean. The low clouds and the fog that are out there this morning will burn off. As we take a look at the futurecast, what you're going to find, again, that low cloud cover moving out. And while we do have that dense fog advisory this morning, visibility is getting better and better as we look down to the south. Norfolk now at the airport with 3 miles visibility. We are in the low 60s right now, but we're going to head into the 70s. Once the fog burns, I expect those temperatures to pop pretty quickly. We'll get up in the mid-70s, maybe mid to upper 70s for some inland areas. Very low risk of a sprinkle down to the south. Tomorrow, temperatures up into the 70s, upper 70s to low 80s. And then as we get into Wednesday, it gets even warmer. So if you like the warmer weather, hang in there. On Wednesday, we get up, giving you a little taste of summer. I'm sure a lot of folks will be hitting the beaches. Water temperatures, though, still very, very cold. Tree pollen is moderate. As we look out there, you see those temperatures do cool down a little bit, but look at the sunshine for the upcoming weekend. It really looks good. I want to remind you, you can always stay in touch with our forecast when you download the 13 News Now mobile app. Scan that QR code and get your traffic, weather, and news updates directly from 13 News Now. It's a free app, and it's got a lot of good stuff there. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Be sure and join us next time.